Good morning, guys. Summer here, owner of Greensboro Downtown Yoga, coming to you for today's Yoga for Athletes class. Just a quick reminder to hit that little subscribe button below and the tiny bell. That way you get notified in your notifications anytime that we go live or add new content. So go ahead and do that. And then, as always, just a huge thank you to each and every one of you who has taken the time and felt inspired to donate and support Greensboro Downtown Yoga. We are a small local community studio, and it means the world to us to have your donations and your support. So if you feel empowered or inspired, there's a donation link below. And again, anything, even the smallest amount, will help us keep the doors open and alive through all this COVID-19 craziness. All right, let's dive into today. Today, we are going to work on your hamstrings and your balance. So some dynamic balance with hamstrings. For those who were with me last week, my H3 guys, H3 baseball guys out of Crozet. Hey. Yeah, we're gonna kind of build and expand on that. We worked on hips. You're going to want to have, this is a strap. If you've got even a towel or a blanket or a dog leash, works really well, have that. And then I've got 2 blocks here. Again, you could use, even sometimes I'll use my water bottle. It's just going to kind of assist us with some of our balances and stretches so that you can go a little bit better. All right, if you don't have blocks, don't worry. I've even used textbooks. So if you've got any textbooks laying around, there you go. All right, we're going to go back and find a standing position. We're going to find feet into the floor. And just like we did last week, we want to find our feet first because our feet are our foundation. So just look down at your feet and how they kind of naturally fall. Look at your arch. So when I say arch, I'm talking about this mid part of our foot. If you notice, mine's kind of collapsing down. When I pull up and push my toes into the ground, you see how I get that more of an arch? So this is with me just kind of relaxing thing. When I push my foot in, arch, dome. Okay, so let's do that. Let's just dome and arch our foot and then relax. Arch. And I have no idea why my hands want to naturally do it with my feet. Arch. You might find, especially if you're a runner or someone who does a lot of sports where you're impact and lots of impact with shoes on, that kind of naturally your foot starts to become flat. And one of the downfalls of that is oftentimes you end up with pain in your shins, the very commonly referred to shin splint. And we want to avoid that. So by getting strength into our feet to help with our balance and lifting that arch, you will avoid some of those common faults. Let's do 2 more. 1 time. Now, lift all 10 toes off the floor. So they are this big, wide spread apart. Actually, I'm going to come closer. I don't need to be on my mat. I don't want you to see this. So big, wide spread apart. And then 1 toe at a time touches the ground. Lift all 10 toes up. Do that again. 1 toe, 2 toe. Oh, my 3rd toe, my 4th, 2nd toe, the ones that don't want to do it. And then big toe. A couple more times. Just notice your toes. I'm pretty good. I can get my pinky, then I can get that 4th one, but then this 2nd and 3rd one really struggles to go independently for me. And a couple more. I broke 2 toes on this foot years ago. I dropped a weight on it while I was training a client. It was really lovely. And I think that's part of the reason they don't move super well. Good. 1 more time. If you're starting to feel a little bit of pain in those feet, just know it's the muscles of your foot working. Let's lift all 10 toes and then lower. And then you're going to lift a heel and lower. This right here. So you kind of are trying to lift as high onto your foot as possible, and then you're getting this just little swing across. And I like being on my mat because it's a much cushionier place than this really hard floor that's in here. Now, if that's bad, that's why we use a mat. So you're getting this just little kind of sweep across. You notice my knee is kind of going out to the side. I'm just trying to get some movement into that foot so that when we go into some of our balance poses here in a few moments, you have that space to grab hold onto the floor. Let's do 1 more. And then bring your hands together behind your back. Interlace and look to the sky. So this is just a moment to open up across the front of your chest. Hold your hands right there as you lift your right leg and lower. I just took out your balance, right? By pulling those hands in, we are forced to open across the front of our chest. We make this movement into our hip joint. Let's do 2 more. And you might wonder, like, why are we doing some of these movements? It's dynamic balance, dynamic strength and stretch, which will help us be able to go into static stretches a little better. Big deep inhale, lift your arms overhead. Oh, just because that feels so nice. Hands come down. You're going to take your feet wide. And I want you to just kind of go side to side. So you're going into your legs in this side-to-side motion. The higher you are, the less you're going to feel it into those hips. The deeper you go, the more your hips and hamstrings will get involved. But it's a lot about this inner thigh stretch. And that's one thing that I've really realized with so many of us athletes is that those inner thighs get really tight. So then the hips get tight, the hamstrings, it's like all this interconnection. Good. Let's do 2 more. Come back to center, and you're just going to roll up. Bring your feet back and lift your right leg off the ground and just hold. All I want you to do is hold right here. Push your foot that's on the floor into the ground. Suction cup your knees. Now lift your chest and shut your eyes. Oh. Totally changed the experience, I bet, right? All of a sudden, you're like, I am rocking and shaking all over the place. Yep, that's what happens when we shut our eyes. It takes out that one element of balance. So what can you do to make it better? Push your foot into the ground, suction cup your toes, and squeeze your butt. Open your eyes and switch legs. Now I'm allowing you to have those arms as that counterbalance. So find the lift. Shut the eyes. Again, think about the toes. Suction cup them into the floor. Lift your arch. Squeeze your butt. How's the side? And release. Great job. Now take your right leg, reach it forward, and then I want you, it's like you're scooping down and scooping something up. Do the left side. So it's just this little, notice my back is long and flat, and then I come back up. So it's a scoop and pull. For any of you who have played sport, a lot of these come from an active dynamic warm-up if you do an appropriate active dynamic warm-up. And that's one of the things I really want to show you is some things that you can do before or after in a way that makes your body feel a little better. So I'm pushing my hips back as my heel digs into the floor. It's not about going low. The sweep of the arm is just to start stretching into the back of your leg and pull. 2 more. And pull. Stand tall. Now, you're going to bring your foot to the inside of your leg. Reach your arms high to the sky. Ooh, changes that a little bit, right? See how high this foot can start to slide into your leg. This balanced tree pose. I want you to think about this standing leg being your foundation, being that root into the ground. Make sure your knee stays straight. Squeeze your booty. So one of the most common things I saw, so for those of you who sent me your pictures last week of you doing that spinal rotation, was we had a lot of knee bend going on, right? To try to get the rotation. And that's because of those tight hamstrings and tight hips. So when we do a balance like this, where it's like, ooh, I have to stand tall, this is that moment and what we're thinking about. Let's switch sides. And it was, I appreciated Michaela, who in the comments had asked a question last week about when we did that spinal rotation and reaching down for our foot was, so we did this movement, that T-spine rotation. Is it better to stay higher so that your back doesn't round, or should I go low with the back rounding? And the answer is you want to stay high and keep the back straight. So that's what we're thinking about right here. Ooh, I can't find my balance. And release, good job. Shake out those feet, shake out those ankles. You're gonna sit down and grab whatever strap it is that you have and place it around the bottom of one foot. Lift up as sitting as tall as you can. So again, we're thinking a lot today about how we can have this lift of our spine. We pull our abdominal muscles in tight and you pull the toes back towards your shins. You're going to lift the leg off the ground and then lower it. Knee straight. Okay? And lower. So what we're doing is, again, dynamic. You should be feeling your hip probably right here. But I want to know, are you starting to lean back like this? If you are, and you are near, you'll be able to see me if I do this. If you're near like a wall, sit against the wall. Do this right here. It'll take some of that out of the hip and allow you to get more stretch behind your knee. Use assists, use props. Let's do one more. But it will make this movement a little harder. You have to scooch away from the wall because you're going to lift your leg off the mat. And then you're going to roll down to your back to where you're laying on your back. Leg is lifted to the sky. So now, straight in behind this knee. If you are here, so your knee is bent and your leg is there, no, I don't want that. I'd rather you be here with your leg straight than here with your knee bent. Okay? So what we're trying to do is get this stretch into the tendon that attaches behind your knee. You're going to lower your leg to the floor and up. So it's dynamic. Pull with the straps. So dynamic means with movement, static means holding. That's the difference when I use those two different terms. So we get this movement into our hamstring, into our hip. We're not going to do static hold stretches just yet. We're going to do those a little bit later. Right now we're still trying to get movement. Take this leg, cross it over your body. Now you're going to be like, holy goodness, especially if you have tight IT band, which is what goes down the side of your body. You're just, again, moving the leg out and in. The hard part of this is you're not rolling to the side, is that for right now, I want both hips to stay on the ground. So it's like your windshield wiper, just kind of going out and then take it out to the side, open, and then out across. Be safe, be slow. So meaning if you start to feel just like incredibly tingly shakiness, either take the leg further away, slow the movement down. The biggest thing is your knee stays straight, okay? Come back to center. You're gonna grab the strap, straighten your leg, lower your foot down to the mat. And this is just kind of a fun moment that it assists you to come back up to seated. Oh. Let's switch sides. So take the foot on, or the strap onto the other foot. Lift your leg up and down. There's some days technology and Bluetooth just does not want to work for me. I've had 3 different Bluetooth speakers that have just decided to die. So if you can hear my music that's coming out of my phone, awesome. If not, turn your own music on and just listen to me talk. I'm like sick of fighting it. Oh, the joys of technology. Just like our body. Always has something a little bit going on. All right, so again, if you are sitting against a wall, go for it. Hold your foot lifted. Press and pull the toes back towards you. And let's roll ourselves down to the mat. Notice if this leg is different than the other. How much bend you have in your knee, how much pull do your toes have towards you. And let's lower the leg down and up. So I am kind of the reverse of a lot of people. I have incredibly stretchy, bendy hamstrings, and I have what's called hyperextended knees. So I'm having to think a lot about it right now. You might be the same. So like if I come up, you notice how my knee actually goes kind of back and beyond because I have so much flex in my hamstrings. And I have been that way since I was a dancer kid. Even my days running, my hamstrings would get tight, but it was always my quads for me, which is going to be our focus next week. But as you lower this leg down and up, really pay attention to how much bend you have. You don't want to over straighten it, but you also don't want to have it bent. Let's keep our legs straight and let's cross our body. So just cross and come back to center. Ooh, this side is tighter for me than the other, which is interesting because normally for me it's my left leg that's tighter. The amazing wonders of the body. Sometimes it's just like, I don't know. One of the big things that you can do when you're doing stretches like this is breathe, right? Make sure that you are breathing because if we start to hold our breath, oxygen isn't able to get to those muscles, and without oxygen, we can't get good movement, we stop blood flow, lots of things that we don't want to happen. Let's windshield wiper all the way out to the side, and then come back across. So with that movement, you're just finding your hip, your hamstring, your IT band, lots of things. One thing a lot of people who run or sports with lots of running in it find is that their knee starts to hurt. And I will not say this is all the time because I can't diagnose, I'm not a doctor. But often what happens is the IT band on the outside of the leg pulls the patella, and the patella, which is the kneecap, so right on the top of the knee, tracks incorrectly and causes pain. Come back to center. Grab the leg or grab the strap, lower the leg, and roll ourselves back up to seated. Right there. Take the strap off the foot. Let's stand up. And you're going to kind of just shake out your legs because that's a pretty dynamic stretch into those legs. Lift your right leg off the ground. And now you're going to shoot that leg straight back. So you want to try to find this place. Tap your toe to the floor. And then see how high up you can get it while being in this long line. Come back up. Lower your foot. Let's do the other side. So what I did, lifted the leg. Reached behind me. Tap the toe down. Now I just found myself do it. I want to start opening my hip to the side. We want to keep our hips square to the ground. And come forward. Let's do that one more time each side. So this is prepping us for that T-spine rotation, which, as I talked about last week, it's actually an assessment tool that we used when I was at IMG Academy as a way to know if balance, because it's the foundation, how balance was. We were able to get so much information just from that move. I can look at your foot, your hamstring, your hips, your T-spine, and your shoulders just through that move. So that's what's really cool. And release. All right. Stretch that out. You're going to take your right foot forward, your left knee's coming to the ground, and you're in this lunge position. This is a really great time if you have blocks or books or anything. Like I said, I've even used my water bottle to just have them. Because we're going to lean forward, and then we're going to walk back, stretch this leg. So we did this last week, and we were thinking about the hips. Today we're going to do it. We're actually going to hold the position here in a moment. And I want you to really find the hamstring length. So in yoga, this is a prep for splits. Obviously, I mean, if you want to do a split, we can absolutely learn how to do a split. But unless you're a dancer in a sport like that, most of the time splits are not necessarily the functional movement that you need, but it does give you range into your hips and your hamstrings. We're going to hold this next one back. Sit your back, so if you notice I had my back toe tucked. Now you want to try to sit your weight back, so you're actually sitting on top of that foot, and you start to walk your legs forward. If that is just not comfortable, like for me, it's just not comfortable to be on the top of my foot. I much prefer with my toe tucked under. You do you. You find the version that works for you. Pull your toes back, and you're leaning forward. Now, I could have my hands on the ground right here. The blocks are just a means by which that I can keep my back straight, because that's what I really want to see, not this. See the difference? Lift, reach. It's that same thing that I was talking about that in that spinal rotation. Let's come back forward and switch sides. So lean in, stretch back. I also love it with the toes tucked under a little bit because I have this joy, kind of a weird joy. I really like to stretch my toes. I like how it feels. And so it's giving that moment of, stretch into my toes, which gets so tight. Because of my ankle, which some of you know, some of you don't, I've had 2 reconstructive surgeries on my left ankle, and I have 3 cadaver ligaments and a pin that sits in the middle of it. And because of that, I am in tennis shoes 90% of my day, because otherwise my foot just hurts. If I'm walking around a lot, my ankle hurts. And so because of that, my toes get really tight. And I mean, I'm one of those people, like if I could be barefoot all the time, I would, but I'm as barefoot as much as I can. All right, let's do this next one back. Because barefoot really does strengthen those feet muscles so that things like balance become much more comfortable and easy. All right, so let's stretch forward again. Place your hands in a way that feels nice for you. That leg is straight. Chest is lifted. If you're starting to round, then maybe you untuck that toe. Another little trick of the trade is you can also take these blocks and actually sit on them. I didn't tell you that on the other side. That's another option. That's part of getting into the half split. Now that I'm here, I'm just going to stay there because that's kind of comfortable here. And let's release. Let's come to standing. And we are going to try that T-spine rotation. So those of you with me last week, it was we lift our leg. I'm going to do this wrong. Lift your leg. Reach your leg behind you. Now, if I'm standing on, so stand on your left foot. Take your right hand, cross to the outside of your foot, and then open your opposite arm out. And that's actually not how we get into it, but that's how I just said it. All right, so let's come back in and square off. Lift your other foot, lean forward, and actually you start with your arms out to the side, And then take your opposite hand and rotate. So again, this is where Michaela was asking in those comments, is it better to round and get deeper, bend the knee, get deeper, or is it better to stay high and be flat? And it's better to stay high. So like on this side today, that's where I am. Come back in. Let's do it one more time each side. And again, just like last week, snap a pic. I'd love to see kind of where you're at today versus last time, because we will get better with it. Move forward. Rotate. You can drop it into the comments. You can shoot it to me over social media. You can find me in an email, however you want. And I will give you a little bit of momentary feedback on what I see. I won't overwhelm you too much. Let's give you kind of big highlights. Rotate. Oh. Come back. And release. All right, last big stretch of the day. We're gonna have that strap. Place it around the bottom of your foot and lay on your back. Now, we're just gonna hold this. And you wanna pull your toes back towards your face. The more stretch you can get behind this knee, the better, again, without hyperextending it. Allow your back to be pressed into the ground, your shoulder blades pinched together. Even in a lying position like this, when we can start to think about our posture and our upper body, the better we'll be able to become when we do standing positions. Take your hand, cross your leg over. Now, open your opposite arm out to the side. So different this time. Actually allow your hip to rotate and open out to the side. Oh my goodness. This is, for all you baseball guys, such an important stretch, because this is getting rotation in your mid-spine, your mid-back. So think about your pitching, your throwing, your hitting, all those different times that you rotate, right? Aside, well, the catcher throws, so I'll just say aside from him, but it's such an important place. And we're getting all this down into our IT band. If you're wanting to cry a little bit, I wouldn't be surprised. Come back to center. Switch sides. Again, sometimes I think that it's challenging for you guys to see, because I am so flexy in my hamstrings, that I do know how it feels though. I've been to that point. So it really is how you get this stretch behind your knee. If you can't go as far up with your leg as I can, that's okay. It's building and trying to get there. Next week when we do quads, oh my goodness, you will see my tightness. And they kept hoping that when I stopped running and cycling as much, it would get better. A little bit. But take your leg, cross over. Although I guess in fairness, I didn't stop running because I wanted to. I stopped running because I had to. One thing you'll find too is if you're a sprinter, so if you do like quick burst speed, so especially baseball, you think running from running to a base, right? You're trying to get there as fast as you can. It's that quick short. It requires a ton of hamstring. That's where a lot of your power comes through. It's often why you hear sprinters are the ones who tear their hamstrings, and that's because they don't have this good balance between stretch and strength. So while we're getting all this stretch, you also want to make sure that you develop good strength in that. So the very last thing that we're going to do, take your foot out of the strap. Bring your feet flat to the floor. Lift your hips up. Is this kind of stabilizing strength into your hamstrings and your glutes. This position is called a bridge. And it is such a great one for engaging all the muscles along the back side of your body. Lower your hips down. Take your hips back up. And there's different ways you can do it. You could do it where you go down and up quickly. I like to get you to hold here at the top because you get that squeeze into your glutes, into your hamstrings. Lower down. And after doing some of that deep stretch, to counter it with this strengthening moment can actually be a way that, again, we try to make sure that we don't injure ourselves at the end of the day. Let's just do one more. Press your feet into the ground. Don't forget that arch. Just like we did standing, can you pull the arch and push your toes more into the ground? And release. Hug your knees into your chest. Just give yourself a little rock from side to side. Roll yourselves up. Come to a seated position. Big, deep inhale. Reach your arms overhead. And give yourselves a great big round of applause. Fantastic work today. I hope that your hamstrings feel a little bit more stretchy, bendy, and know that those are all things that you can easily do before practice, after practice. Just make sure that you don't jump straight into static stretching. You do some of that dynamic work. And yeah, I'd love to know who was with me today and who joined me. So drop a comment in. How do you feel now compared to where you were 30 minutes ago when we started? So I hope to see you next week. We have all of our kind of movement warrior on Monday, our core warrior on Wednesday, lots of other things throughout the week. So until next time, I'm Summer. Thanks, guys. Bye, Jay. Bye, Joey. Bye, guys.